kids, it's me, tonihomeperm, the singing diva of Long Island. What I'm doing today is showing you some of my favorite palettes that were released in 2021 and just show them off a little bit for you and tell you why I enjoyed them, why I like them, what makes them one of my favorites. And I thought we would just have a little bit of fun and do that. Now I always say to myself, now I'm not going to swatch them. I'm not going to swatch. But I can't help myself. Sometimes I just do it. I just like see a color and I'm like, no, I just have to swatch it just a little. So I make sure I have some of my baby wipes on hand if I have to clean my fingers because I'm swatching stuff. Now, a lot of makeup influencers, they will rank their palettes for 2021 and they'll have their top 10 or top 20. I personally, I can't do that. I feel like all these palettes that I really like, they're all my children, and I love each of them in a different way. So I don't like to do a ranking per se of like, well, this is number 20, this is number 19. I couldn't do that with my children. So how can you expect me to do that with my palettes? Each one of them I love in a different way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to show you the palettes and tell you what it is specifically about them that I love. First up is my favorite matte formula of 2021, and I decided I'm giving that to the Give Me Glow Bad Witch Club Season Fall palette. If you saw my review of this, oh, and by the way, all of these palettes I did individual reviews on, and I will have the links for all of them listed down below. Anyway, the Give Me Glow palette. If you check out my review of this palette, you will see the full swatches, and as I said in that video, the pigmentation on the mattes in this palette is beyond belief. As I said in that video, I would almost say buy the palette just so you can swatch it. You don't even have to put it on your eye. Just swatch it on your arm and you'll just be like, it'll be almost like a religious experience. That's how beautiful the matte formula is. Like especially this burgundy, which I'm going to show you. Look how deeply pigmented that is, and all the mattes are like that. They're just so pigmented. It's almost like paint in a powder form. They're just so amazing. The mattes in here, this matte formula. The shimmers are very good too, but they are. I'm not listing it as my favorite shimmer palette. That's going to go to another palette. But the shimmers are really, really beautiful. But for me, this palette, oh, it's those mattes. Those mattes are just everything. Next up, my favorite turquoise palette of 2021. And I'm awarding that to Rude Cosmetics Love Palette from their Spellbook collection. And in the video I did of this palette, where I created the look, I mean, I just said I did indeed love this palette. You wouldn't expect a love theme palette to be turquoise based, but it is, and I have no problem with that. I love turquoise, so I was very happy that the Love Palette was a turquoise color theme, and I love this palette. Great mattes, great shimmers. I think that's a pressed glitter, and I've ended up using a lot of pressed glitters this year because it seems like you can't escape them in palettes. But I have to say, I love the look that I created with this palette. I had a lot of fun with it, and so this is my favorite turquoise palette of 2021, the Rude Cosmetics Love Palette. Next up is my favorite collab palette of 2021, and I have to say, if you were one of the lucky ones that got this palette, you are indeed very fortunate because it's sold out completely and you can't get it again. And as far as what I've heard, they're not going to make any more of it. So it's the Oden's Eye and Annette Giant Wolves palette. There were actually 3 palettes that they did for this collection. It was Annette and 2 other influencers. But for me, this was the one that I had to have. I'm such a big fan of Annette, and she's always so nice, and leaves comments back to me when I comment on her videos. And I did a video with this. I created a look, and she was so nice and liked it and commented, and it's a beautiful, beautiful color story. And as I said, when you look at this color story, if you follow Annette, like, this is her. This palette, this color story, it really is just such a true embodiment of her aesthetic as far as eyeshadow colors, formulas. The multi-chrome in here, Eternal, is such a beautiful color. Like, from where I'm sitting, I'm getting this sort of turquoise blue, but it probably looks very different on film and on the screen. But all the colors were so great. This black is amazing. These grungy, like, blues, greens, and maroons, the greens, this astral, this really beautiful light shimmer. I mean, it's just such a good palette. It really is. So this is my favorite collab palette of 2021, the Oden's Eye and Annette Giant Wolves palette. I love it. Okay, now with the Give Me Glow palette, I told you that was my favorite matte formula palette of 2021. Now I have to show off my palette with the what I feel are the best shimmers of 2021, and that goes to Chaotic Cosmetics Brainwashed palette. Yes, here it is. Full disclosure, the CEO is AJ Bellafiore, a very good, close personal friend of mine. AJ and I also perform together as drag sisters. His drag name is Ashley Jade. And as I said, he's the CEO of Chaotic Cosmetics, who they just recently hit over 100,000 followers on Instagram. So congratulations, AJ. And this was their major launch of the year, the Brainwash Palette. It had these beautiful neon pastels and the shimmers. The shimmers in this are just, they are beyond belief. I did a whole video on them, and I showed how, like, if you take the shimmer and you put it like on a dark base, you get an even more incredible look. And they're duochromes. I don't believe they're multi-chromes, but they are so reflective. I love this one, Alien Files, and this one, Static Electricity. They're my 2 favorites out of the palette, and I just love them so much. It's just, they're like the kind of shimmers you just want to, like, cover your entire body in the shimmer. This one too. You see, I can't help myself. Spill your guts. Oh, I love it. I love it. They're just so beautiful. They really are. And I think, did I use Alien Files? I think I used that as a highlight too. I just couldn't resist it. Beautiful palette. I mean, the mattes are great too. Don't get me wrong. They're great. But the shimmers. Oh my goodness, the shimmers. Yes. So best shimmers goes to Chaotic Cosmetics, the Brainwash palette. Oh, I just love it. Next up, now this is also was released as a Halloween themed palette, and I don't know what it was with 2021, but it was like there were a million Halloween palettes, it seemed. You just couldn't keep up. And when I saw this one advertised, I knew I had to have it. It's Hip Dot and the Addams Family, and I knew I had to have it because I love the Addams Family. As a little kid, I just couldn't get enough of that show. The macabre and the weird, it was just, it was everything to me. Morticia and Gomez and Thing, Lurch. I just love them all. I just did. I really just love them all. And when I saw the palette, I knew I wanted it. At first, I was a little unsure because you've got like this matte gray and then this sparkly black, and I was just sort of like, are the colors too repetitive? But when I actually started using it and I created this beautiful smoky eye Halloween look, and I sort of turned myself into my version of Morticia, and I love how the look came out. The shadows performed really, really beautifully. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm really happy that I have this in my collection. And for 2021, this is my favorite smoky eye palette. And not a huge palette, only 8 colors, but for creating a smoky eye look, it works really good. Very, very well thought out, very well planned, and the shadows themselves, really, really good. Next on the list, my favorite creative palette of 2021, and that's going to the Censorium Chapter 1 palette. This is the brainchild of Alexis Stone, very famous drag queen, makeup influencer, who's on YouTube, Instagram, all those things. Anyway, when I saw this palette being advertised, I knew I had to try it. So here it is. Really, you have so many things you can do with this palette. I mean, there's so many different looks you can create. I mean, you could do greens, you could do purples, you can do neutral. I mean, the sky's the limit with this palette. It really is. And Alexis deliberately did not set the pans up in such a way, grouping them by color story, because she didn't want people to get locked into like a mindset of like, oh, well, I have to, use just all these blues together with these blues, or or something like that. I'm probably not explaining it right, but she wanted you to be able to look at the palette and just be able to explore all the possibilities available to you. So that's why it's not set up by the individual colors. Like you don't have all the blues in one row and greens in another, yada yada yada, all that stuff. Anyway, I believe this is in collaboration with Be Perfect, and Be Perfect make all the Carnival palettes, which I have all of them. Those are all terrific palettes, and I had high hopes for this palette, and I was not disappointed. It worked really good. Great formula. I love the color story. There's just so many things you can do with it. I had said to myself, I need to do a palette bingo with this, because I think that would be so much fun. I think a palette bingo using this palette would just really, really be wild to do. And I have to say, this was one of the first palettes that I used when I really decided to throw myself into doing YouTube makeup videos again. And Alexis Stone herself, she was so nice, and she reposted my pictures using the palette, and shouted me out and gave me some likes, and it was I was deeply touched, and just so grateful to Alexis for doing that. And I love her. I love the palette. I mean, it's a great palette. Now, as I was saying, the Sensorium palette is laid out in such a way so that you can, explore anything that you want as far as using different colors. This next palette, though, which is one I love just as much, is not set up like that. It's very deliberately set up in a color story scheme. However, it is one of my favorite palettes of 2021. I've done at least 3 videos with this palette. That shows you how much I love it. And it is the Blend Bunny Surge Palette. And I have a feeling that other video creators will probably have this as their number one. If they do like a ranking video, I know a lot of people are going to have this as their number one. Definitely like top 5, top 10. It's just such an amazing palette. I have to show you the inside. There's no mirror, which I like. I wish that palettes wouldn't have mirrors. I have my own mirrors, but here it is. And as I said, it's very thoughtfully laid out as far as the rows and the columns. This top row are sort of like your muted pastels, then your sort of dark brights, dark mattes, then your shimmers, and on the bottom your neon colors. And then the rows themselves are sort of like your, sort of a neutral black, greenish grungy yellow, then your sort of brownish reds, your pinks, purples, blues, greens. And, as much as I love how the Sensorium is, the colors are just, spread out all over, I love this because you have things very thoughtfully, carefully grouped together. So I love both of those ideas. I think for each palette, it works perfect. Now I do want to say, this palette is so good. The mattes are just so good. They really are. I mean, it's kind of like, I was almost on the fence, should the best mattes be Give Me Glow or this one? I mean, they're like, they're neck and neck. They are just so good. And the shimmers in this palette are just beautiful. Look at this, zip it up. Look at that gold. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And what is this underneath? That blue. Oh, look at that. Look at that. And the mattes too. The mattes are just so. Oh, look at that. Look at that matte. Beautiful. It's just such an amazing palette. I love this palette so much. I really do. That is why the Surge palette, this is my favorite color story of 2021. I just feel that the color story is just so well designed, so thoughtfully planned out, and the formula of the mattes and the shimmers is just so good. I mean, this is like one palette that, I mean, if you had no other palettes, you had to only pick like one palette to keep. I mean, this might be the one. This might be the one palette. If you could only have one palette to live on for the rest of your life, you would not be sorry if it was this Surge palette. You really wouldn't. And I know that Blend Bunny is coming out with a neutral palette very soon, and I'm like, I have to get that one. You know it. So, my favorite color story of 2021, the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Surge palette. Next is my favorite grungy purple palette of 2021. This is another palette I did more than one video with it, I believe, and it's the Makeup Pharmacy Beauty Rituals palette, and I just love this palette so much. These maroons and purples and the black. Oh, the black in here is just so good. Look at that black. You could just melt into that black. I mean, I almost could tell you, get the palette just for the black. But all the colors are just so good. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. The depth of pigmentation on this palette is just so good. See, I can't help myself. I mean, it's just so good. I did a look with this that I sort of kind of looked like Endora from Bewitched, and I just love the look so much, and the palette was just a dream to work with. It's just so good. The formula is so good, and the Makeup Pharmacy people, so nice. They always like my pictures on Instagram, and I'm always just so grateful when a company does that. because it means that, they like what you've done with something that they've created, something that, is a part of them that they love. And I give this palette so much love, and it's really well deserved. Really, it's the best grungy purple palette of 2021. If grungy purple palettes are your thing, if that's your jam, you need the Beauty Rituals palette. You will not be disappointed. Okay, moving along from grungy purples, another one of my loves is a grungy green palette. And it was a tie for me this year. Can you believe it? I actually have a tie. There were two palettes that, as far as the grungy greens, I just couldn't choose between them, and they were both just so good. The first one is the Loki palette from Notoriously Morbid, and the other one is the Languid Chestnut Toad from Sigil Inspired Temi Tanuka. This is actually the mini palette. But let me first show you the Loki palette. Beautiful packaging, and it's got this beautiful grungy green gold color story, and this beautiful, I don't know if that's a duochrome or a multi-chrome, but that green is just beautiful. Let me go like that and let you see it. I mean, look how beautiful that is. I don't know if this palette's still available either, but as far as a grungy green palette, and I use this to turn myself into Lady Loki. I love the look that I created with it. I had a lot of fun with it, and one of my favorite grungy green palettes of 2021. Now, of course, tied with the Loki palette is the Languid Chestnut Toad palette from Sigil Inspired, and it's a tiny palette. It really is. This is like vacation size, and it's just such a beautiful grungy green color story. And since it was the first time I was ordering from the company, I didn't mind that it was small, because I figured it's a great way to dip your toe into the waters of trying out a new brand, a new formula, and I was really happy with the palette. And I think the next one that they have coming out, the Snake palette, I've ordered that one, and I'm anxiously awaiting for that to arrive. But I love the look that I created with the Chestnut Toad, and as I say, I don't mind that it's so small. I mean, really, it like takes forever to use up a pan in a palette. It really does, unless it's like a white or a black. But for the most part, your colors or your shimmers, they don't get used up all that quickly. And let's face it, for the most part, we have so much makeup, it'll probably end up going bad before we even use it. So the fact that it's little tiny pans like this is fine. How much do you really need to put on your eye, right? Well, maybe don't ask me that question. But here it is, my tie for best grungy green palette of 2021, the Languid Chestnut Toad, and it really is a beautiful grungy green palette. Okay, now next up, these are Halloween palettes. They came from the BH Cosmetics Poison Shock collection, and three of them stood out for me. The first one being the Absinthe Palette. This was their green palette. So this is getting my award for my favorite sparkly green palette of 2021. I just love a monochromatic palette, especially a green monochromatic palette, and this one was, it's really beautiful. I love the look that I made with it. This color, Elixir, such a beautiful shimmer. It really is. Also that one, what is that? Another Sip. Beautiful, beautiful. And the mattes were really good. I love the BH Cosmetics formula, and I love this little sparkly green palette. Yeah, this was my favorite sparkly green of 2021. Next up from the Poison Chalk collection, my favorite sparkly blue palette of 2021, the Subzero palette. I can't help it. I'm just drawn to these monochromatic palettes so badly, and this one was really good. I love this palette. I love the look that I made with it. There's just nothing quite like an icy blue shimmer. All of these shimmers though were really good, and the mattes really good. I mean, it's a beautiful blue palette. So yep, the Subzero palette, my favorite sparkly blue palette of 2021. I'm just thinking about it. I don't know if my categories make sense to you, the viewer, but in my mind, they make sense to me. So, it's my channel. You're not my real dad. You can't tell me what to do. But I do hope that you're enjoying my thought process on these palettes. So now the third and final palette from the Poison Chalk collection that I really loved. My favorite gray tone palette of 2021, and that's the Venom Palette from the Poison Chalk collection. And I love these kind of gray toned monochromatic palettes like the ColourPop Blow and Smoke palette. It's another one of my favorites like this. And this one was no exception. I love the look that I created with it, and sometimes I get tired of color and I want something, just dark and smoky. And as I said, the look that I created with this palette, which I believe I also used that look to do my Blame It on the Algorithm video, which a music video I did, a song parody, and I love how the video came out. I loved how I looked in it, and that was largely due to the Venom palette. And great palette, great mattes, great shimmers, and very happy that it is in my collection. My favorite gray tone palette of 2021. Okay, now my favorite drugstore palette of 2021. It's actually 4, because it comes from the Wet n Wild Fantasy Makers line. This is what they put out at Halloween, and originally I think I only got 2 of these. There were 4 altogether. I got 2 of them, and realized that they were basically the same. They were the same names, pretty much the same color story as the 4 they did the year prior. However, I thought, just for fun, why don't I take one and compare it to the same palette from the year previously. The shape of the pans was different, and I didn't know it, but they changed the formula, and the mattes and shimmers in the ones that they came out with for this year were just so much better than what they had done the year prior. And I was really in shock when I compared them, how much better the pigmentation was on these. Let me just show you. I mean, look at that purple. It's so good. The orange. What else? Oh, this one, the Hollow Queen. It's almost like a sort of a mini condensed version of the Beauty Bay, by Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette. I mean, with the dark blue. See? And even the black. That black, look at that. And this palette was like $5. And this blue shimmer. Look at that. Look at that. A little $5 palette. I couldn't believe how good the formula was on these palettes. I actually did a special video just comparing the formula of these little palettes from last year to these with the rectangular pans this year, and I was shocked. I was blown away. So these little Wet n Wild Fantasy Maker palettes, they are my favorite drugstore palette of 2021. If you were fortunate enough to pick them up, because they only have them out for a short time, and then for Halloween, and then they're gone, you're fortunate, because these were really, really good. I hope that they continue to use this formula in their new products, because this formula is really good. Like I said, I can't believe how good it was for the price. So again, my favorite drugstore palettes of 2021, these little Wet n Wild Fantasy Maker Halloween palettes. My hands are so stained from swatching. But that's because my favorite palettes tend to be very highly pigmented. Okay, next, a category of my own making, my favorite blue-purple category. And the my favorite blue-purple palette of 2021 is the Pink Crush Cosmetics Metamorphosis palette. And it is just such a beautiful, beautiful color story. I love the look that I created with this. It's just such a good formula. I love this blue-purple color story. Just like a great blue-purple palette. And yeah, I'm gonna keep swatching. Look at that blue. Look how beautiful. This shimmer is sort of like a blue-purple duochrome. Just beautiful. Chrysalis, that beautiful white shimmer. And have to show you this transformation. Sort of a blue-pink. And look at that purple matte. Beautiful. There you have it. My favorite blue-purple palette of 2021. The Metamorphosis palette from Pink Crush Cosmetics. I have to do a complete hand cleaning after I show you each palette because I'm swatching so much. But what the hey. Now, my favorite neutral palette with some pops of color. Yeah, that's my category, and I'm sticking to it. It's the Icy Wifey Cosmetics Mistress palette. And I did not realize I was going to love this palette as much as I did. The look that I created with it, I just loved. Here is the palette itself. It's this beautiful neutral color story, but you've got like, you know, a little bit of purple and the red color and these beautiful shimmers, especially this shimmer, Mistress. It's just so beautiful. Like where I'm looking right now in the pan, I just see very sort of pink corally, but then when I'm looking at my finger, I get this green reflect. I mean, oh, it's just beautiful. As I say, it's one of those kind of shimmers that you almost want to buy the palette just for that one shimmer. You just want to like bathe yourself in that shimmer color. But all the colors in the palette are really good. Great mattes, great shimmers. You know, the other shimmers, it's just that, you know, that one Mistress, which the palette is named for, that's like the really special one. It's really special. But all the colors in the palette are really good. Look at that beautiful purple, that gold, that sort of lavender shimmer. I mean, oh, it's a great palette. It's really beautiful. I love the color story on this. I love the look that I created with it. So the Icy Wifey Cosmetics Mistress palette, my favorite neutral palette with a little bit of color of 2021. Okay, this next palette, I actually have to put it in two favorite categories. It won two, can you believe it? And it is the Oracle palette, Magic Mondays by Danae Black. And first off, the packaging is just beautiful. It has a matching sleeve. I already took it out. But, you know, it sort of looks like a book, and it's black with the hologram artwork. It's just gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous packaged palette. So as far as like my favorite packaging for 2021, this is the winner. But that's not it. favorite rainbow palette of 2021 is also this palette. I'm going to show you why. Here it is. Rainbow, but more than rainbow, which is what I like. Because you've got these bright colors, but then you've also got the grungy colors here. It's got two beautiful pressed glitters, which I haven't used on the eye yet, but I really would like to. Beautiful neutrals, the grungy blue greens, these beautiful sort of almost neon, like pink, orangey colors, that beautiful yellow. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful orange. It's a beautiful palette. Another palette that I really want to do a palette bingo with, because it's just there's so many different things you can do with it. It really is just so beautiful, and I love the look that I created with it. I had a lot of fun with it, and also the packaging is just so beautiful. This is the kind of palette, like, if I had a beauty room where I could actually display things instead of having to put up a backdrop to hide the mess, this would be a palette that it would be displayed out in the open, because it's just so beautiful. All right, moving on. One of my cockamamie categories, my favorite blue-green-purple category, and my favorite palette of 2021 for that category is the Zodiac Cosmetics Water Palette. I have the Sagittarius palette by Zodiac, which I've had for a while, and I love that palette. So when I saw this collection, there's three other palettes, but I decided just to pick up the water one, because this is the one that the color story most spoke to me. Even though I'm a Sagittarius, and I think Sagittarius is a fire sign, but these teal, blue greens, and the purples, I just couldn't resist it. And I love the look that I created with this palette, and the quality is just so good. The mattes, Zodiac mattes are just so good. They're so richly pigmented. The shimmers are beautiful. Gotta show you that. Well, this actually I think that's a pressed glitter, but look how beautiful it is. That icy blue matte, just so beautiful. They have an amazing formula, and I mean, look at the size of the pans too. I mean, even for somebody like me who uses makeup constantly, it's going to be a long time before I ever hit pan on this palette, which I'm glad, because I'm glad it's going to be in my collection for a very long time. So my favorite blue-green-purple palette of 2021, the Zodiac Cosmetics Water Palette. Okay, so now, as I told you before, we had a lot of Halloween palettes this year. It seemed like everybody had a Halloween palette, and some of them were very good, and some of them were just meh. However, I did have to choose a favorite Halloween theme palette for 2021. I know, I just had to do it. And the favorite Halloween theme palette of 2021 is Pastel Roses UK, their Trick or Treat palette. I love the packaging on it. Beautiful. It's not crazy big, and when we look inside, it does have a mirror, and here it is. And I thought they were really smart with their color story. I mean, they do have some orange and purple, but the other colors, like the green is a grungy green. You've got this sort of maroon color there. The black in this is really, really good. Plus you have a white, which is really good. And these shimmers. These shimmers are really, really good. These shimmers are about on par with the Chaotic Cosmetic shimmers. I mean, that's how good they are. Let me show you. There's Treats, beautiful. Oh, velvet, look at that, look at that. Sin and Sultry, a beautiful sort of green gold. So they did a great job with the color story on this palette, and the shimmers alone, I mean, I could see getting the palette just for the shimmers, but fortunately you get all these other great mattes too in the palette. A really well thought out Halloween palette, in my opinion, the best Halloween palette of 2021. Congratulations, Pastel Roses UK. Not that getting, favorite palette from me gets you anything, but there you have it. Okay, there's also been a lot of Christmas themed palettes that have come out this year. I mean, this was the year for collabs and holiday themed palettes, especially the Halloween ones. But we did see quite a few Christmas themed palettes, and I didn't really order too many. I think I got one from BH Cosmetics, the Mrs. Claus, the little one. From ColourPop, I got the Rudolph palette, but they were not my favorite Christmas themed palettes of 2021. My favorite Christmas themed or holiday themed palette for 2021, well, that's going to Peachy Queen Cosmetics, their Holiday Cheer palette. I keep messing up the name. I keep wanting to call it something else, but they don't actually use that name anywhere on the website. It's nowhere on the palette. So even though it looks like a familiar figure, I'm not going to use that name. You're more than welcome to if you want to. I don't need to get sued, okay? But this, oops, hit with the plastic. Holiday Cheer palette from Peachy Queen. I only got it a few days ago, and I did a video, and it's already up on my channel. But it's a really beautiful color story. The mattes were really, really beautiful. Like especially this one, Vile. I mean, look at that green, and that green too. It has a beautiful red glitter. This color too, Roast Beast. This sort of white shimmery color. That it's just that kind of color that I love to just put that all over the lid. Also this shimmer, actually I'm not sure if it's a shimmer or a glitter, but it's beautiful. Mean One. I really need to do something with that too. But it was just such a really, really well thought out color story. The formulas of the mattes, the shimmers, the pressed glitter, really, really good. And this stands out for me. The best Christmas palette of 2021. The Peachy Queen Cosmetics Holiday Cheer Palette. If you want to call it something else, be my guest. And last, very, very last, but certainly not least, and a sort of an honorable mention, it's my own palette that I did in collaboration with Alexis Flame, the naughtyorniiiiice palette. And there's Alexis under the naughty. Why is she under the naughty? Well, where else would she be? And of course, there's me, tonihomeperm, as a blonde, as the, on the nice side of the palette. And it's got a great little mirror. This is a palette that we wanted to put together that would sort of reflect our own individual drag aesthetic. So the top row is the naughty row, and the bottom row is the nice row. So the naughty is Alexis, the nice is me. So for Alexis, and it's all matte. Chiller, the white, Flame, the red, Black Horror Diva, this beautiful pink, this which is Modesty, this beautiful purple, which is Pretty, and the blue for Singing Diva. And all the colors are great, but especially this blue. Look at that blue. Look at that blue. And I love doing that blue with Horror Diva to sort of do like a blue smoky eye, and I can just put Chiller on the lid, and it's just so beautiful. So there you have it, kids. Those are my favorite palettes from my collection for 2021. I'm curious to know, what are your favorite palettes of 2021? I mean, there were so many. And of course, everybody's taste in eyeshadow palettes and makeup is different. I have a lot of other palettes in my collection that were good, but they just weren't my, absolute favorites. These are just the ones that, for these specific things, they're the ones that I loved the most for 2021. So I hope you enjoyed this little forage through my eyeshadow palettes today. I had a lot of fun, going through my favorites and reminding myself what it is about each one that I love, and wishing that I had maybe more time, or more eyes to actually do looks on. But unfortunately, I only have the two on my face. But I definitely have to do more with some of these palettes. I definitely want to do some palette bingos with some of the palettes that I showed you. And I will be doing that throughout 2022. Can't believe that's where we are now, 2022. Are we in the future? Are there flying cars now like the Jetsons? What I really need is like what Mrs. Jetson had, that machine that, I press a button and it instantly puts me in drag. Now, if I had something like that, kids, what a relief that would be. Then again, my videos probably wouldn't be that interesting if all I did was press a button and the drag look was instantly on me. So there is that. Well, there you have it. Those were my favorite palettes of 2022. As I said, I'd love to know what some of your favorite palettes of 2022 were. Of course, I reviewed each of these palettes throughout the year, and I'm going to put all the links for the individual reviews that I did with the palettes down below. Of course, if you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you want to see more of this kind of video from me, or where I actually do a makeup look, then you need to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This way, YouTube can alert you whenever one of my new videos comes out. You can also catch me twice a month on Naughty or Niiiiiice, the internet variety show that I do with the horror diva Alexis Flame, who, as you know, we collabed on this wonderful palette. And of course, if you want to get an autographed copy of this palette yourself, all the details for that will be listed down below. Also, my Naughty or Nice merchandise is also on our Threadless shop. The details for that also listed down below. Don't forget, you can always catch my weekly podcast, God I'll Get You for That, Walter, which is the review show that I do with Tom Cat. We watch episodes of the 1970s sitcom Maude, and we review it. And we discuss social implications, talk about how things were in the 70s, how much things have changed, and how in some ways they haven't. And we have a lot of laughs along the way. All the details for that are also listed down below. Well, kids, that is all I have for you today. My very first video of 2022, looking back at my favorite palettes of 2021. And I can't wait to see what 2022 has to offer for us. And here's hoping that, things are better and we have a lot more fun in 2022. But you can always stop in here at my channel just to get a few laughs for the day and, cheer yourself up and forget about your worries and your cares maybe just for a little while. Well, that's all I have for you today, kids. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye-bye.